It's time for Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz, the show that helps you be prepared to care for your family regardless of the circumstances that may come your way. Now, here's your host for today, Mark Lamb.
Well, we're back again with Glenn Boblitz from Sustainable Living Made Easy. Glenn, what is our topic for today?
Well, previous podcast we talked about starting your garden again for the fall season, maybe getting an early jump on it. Seems like we all took a hit for the regular season. So if your things didn't do good, replant, start over. There's a whole lot you can do. Most people's corn didn't do well.
Okay.
You still have enough time to get another corn crop in. People don't seem to realize that, but it only takes like 90 days. So we got plenty of time. We have these Indian summers. They're been for the past 15 years. It's been nice and warm, clear up till November, December. So that doesn't make the deer hunters real happy.
No, it doesn't.
If you're going to replant, because our seasons tends to get hot and then dry, and it's hard to get a seed starting without that moisture. Well, you can actually soak your seeds, and the old people all soak their bean seeds before they planted.
Oh, okay.
So you get that quick germination. Those seeds have been dried out for a year or more, and that hard shell on it, it takes a while to draw natural moisture out of the soil. So if you soak your bean seeds overnight, they'll pop in 3 days.
Okay. So
because they've got a huge jump start on it,
Okay.
And there's other techniques for other different kinds of beans that are really hard, including sanding them off. Some of these more exotic type of vegetables, they have really hard shells on them, and they would take a piece of sandpaper and sand it to give it a weak spot.
Okay.
It gives it a weak spot, so when it finally does get some moisture in there and cracks that outer shell, it's got a weak spot to do that crack, and it'll pop it. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that is cool.
Not everything should be soaked, obviously. It's usually, rule of thumb is usually the larger seeds are what you want to soak.
Okay.
Like, you don't want to soak like turnip seeds. They're really small, and they'll rot pretty quickly.
Oh, okay.
So they can draw enough moisture fairly quickly.
Just out of the ground?
Just right out of the ground. Lettuce, radishes, turnips, spinach, carrots, those you don't want to soak. Just plant them just as you would. Give the ground a good soaking so you'll have some moisture there, and that's sufficient for them. But corn, beans, peas, squash, the larger seed, pumpkins, any kind of watermelons. Watermelon's going to be a little late to start now, but it will. If this Indian summer is long enough, you could get a second batch of watermelon.
Okay.
Some of these plants are going to be what you call phototropic. They recognize the wavelength of light coming at them, and they go into almost an immediate fruit production. So you may see a plant that's only a foot around, like a watermelon, and it'll pop out a flower almost immediately because it's recognizing the amount of light and the light waves coming in. It tends to get redder as the summer goes along. So it triggers them to go into fruit production.
Right.
So you may end up with smaller plants, but still end up with the fruit.
Yeah.
And if you have one plant, especially like watermelons, that only has 4 or 5 flowers on it that have been pollinated, the watermelons will be huge because they're only supplying food for 4 watermelons rather than 15, like my plants are right now. So that's about what I wanted to touch on, just so you know that you can have a full crop, and soaking is a way to just jumpstart it. It'll speed up the germination process by 3, 4, 5 days.
Okay.
And because it has that immediate moisture, it'll put down the root deeper. The plant will get larger faster. You're making it just easier on your seeds and easier on your plants to put out a good crop for you.
So we've got these tomatoes this year that we're real pleased with. And you said about a year they need to dry, the seeds themselves. Did I get you right on that?
Well, no.
It depends on the...
You don't have to dry them for a year. What you need to do is just make sure that film on the outside of them is washed off. If you're going to save those
Okay.
heirloom seeds,
Right.
you need to wash that film, that coating that's on them, or they won't dry properly.
Okay.
Same way with cucumbers. If you have a any kind of heirloom, you need to get rid of that film, and it's kind of like a jelly around them,
Right.
or they won't dry properly.
So that's
and-
just simply a water.
yeah, just put them in
little bit
a
of pressure.
colander or
Right. Mm-hmm.
a little screen sifter. Give them a quick wash, spread them out on a paper towel, and then it'll dry right up. And then you can put them in something where they're going to not lose their moisture over that year's period. And you don't want to keep them in a warm spot because some of these seeds have to go through a dormant cycle. And a
Okay.
dormant cycle also includes freezing temperatures.
Oh, I see.
So if you have them like out in the garage where it's not going to get down to 12 below, it'll get down to freezing. It doesn't hurt the seeds.
Okay. So is the basement kind of an
Yeah,
optimal?
if you have a basement, it gets really cool, and it'll put them into that dormant cycle, and you have to stay there for X number of chill hours, they call it. They'll do really good.
And just keep them away from a lot of light, I guess.
Right. You don't want them to have moisture and light, or you may have a bunch of seeds that are sprouting inside
Right.
your bag
Right.
or your jar.
Sure.
We typically put them in a little plastic bag and put them in a jar, and just seal the jar up, and that maintains that moisture for us. The second part of this series today is going to be on food safety. There is an alarming amount of recalls going on.
Yeah, you had Janet and me guessing earlier. Janet had to leave, but guessing how many people.
How many people do you think actually got sick just this year?
Just this year.
This year.
Yeah. And I want to wait, and I'll give you what Janet and I said while you're thinking as a listener. I said, I thought I'll go 78,000, and Janet said 50,000. And you add those two together, and you're still not even close.
The real number is 48 million people got sick off of foodborne illnesses.
Yeah. That is-
48 million people.
Yeah.
That most of the people that are getting sick don't even report it. So the number I just gave you doesn't include the people that just toughed it out.
Right.
You know, I'd have to be really terribly sick before I'd go to the doctor
Right.
and say there is something wrong. You know, you get a bellyache, you get a terrible headache.
Sure.
It may be something that you ate, and we've all said that. God, something didn't sit right on my stomach.
Right.
Well, it may have been a foodborne allergy, salmonella, listeria, but your body may have been healthy enough to fight off that stuff. America's getting sicker all the time, and it has to do with your immune system. But how many people were actually hospitalized due to a foodborne illness?
Okay.
That number is staggering. It's 128,000 people. Now, this is not just a blip on the radar, people. That is a lot of people that are getting sick from a food supply that's supposed to be safe.
Yeah.
Here we are, sustainable living. I haven't gotten sick off of food. Wonder why? You know, because most of what I'm eating is coming out of my garden or coming from a local source that I know. I'm not saying that all food is terrible. It is the processing. The more people that are touching the foods, the more likely you're going to catch something from somebody that didn't wash their hands or just came in and was sick at the time but had to work, and they're still going to work, and there you are processing your foods or cooking your foods at a restaurant. And I'm not trying to trash restaurants and say they're all, you know, getting everybody sick, but look in the back kitchen, see who's cooking yours.
Right. Well, you remember
Lord.
the famous Anthony's outbreak in Roanoke was just horrible. People were getting sick, and I think they ended up closing that one restaurant. And I don't mean to single them out because I like Famous Anthony's.
Hey, it happened to them.
There used to be one in Lynchburg, but I just think the pandemic and everything hurt that. But once that word gets out there, it's
I won't be
a
eating there.
difficult struggle to stay, open at that point.
I mean, there's bacteria in the air just naturally. So if you're running a processing facility or a restaurant or any kind of place like that, you have to be conscious and aware to do the best job you can, to do your due diligence of cleaning way more than you think you need to.
Mm-hmm.
If you say I can't remember the last time I washed my hands in the past 20 minutes, wash them again.
Yeah.
Just that alone will lower your risk of that. But are they doing that at our food processing facilities,
Right.
in the fields? I mean, and I do believe that some of this is coming from the influx of migrant farmers, migrant workers.
We had been able to beat back several diseases for decades, and those diseases are being reintroduced because of
There's
the
no vetting.
10 million plus people that have come over the border just in the last 3.5 years. Now, I don't mean to, single out this administration, but they're the ones that open up the floodgates.
We're just calling it as we see it
Yeah.
here. We're not trying to poke nobody in the eye, and there's no need to. It's obvious.
Right.
If you don't vet 10 million people that just come through your door and are now working in our facilities and our factories, you're going to bring in some type of disease.
Okay, so in New York City, send us you're hungry, you're tired, and all that stuff
Right.
coming into Ellis Island. If you had any kind of disease, 150 years ago, they put you back on the boat and send you back to your country of origin. They even were smart enough back then to vet people.
Okay, so why aren't they vetting people better than they are?
I think it's politics.
Well,
I think it's...
If politics is so desperate for voters, that means something wrong with their politics.
Oh, absolutely.
And we're not trying to get into that
Right.
side of it, but I'm just saying they want to buy these votes so bad that they will put your health
you
at
in
risk.
danger. Yeah.
And that's where we're at. And I don't care which side you're on the political part. If you're allowing this, you're an idiot.
Yeah. Well, this might be a good time to break because
Because Glenn's getting worked up.
You and I
he's
are
about
getting
to
probably
go
jacked
off on
up.
politics.
So let's take a break here, Glenn. And where would you like to take it after we come back?
Just letting you know what's out there, is most prevalent, and how to handle it.
Okay, as far as any kind of
Right, the listerias,
sicknesses and that kind of thing, and with the food supply. We're with Glenn Boblitz right now. We'll be right back. It's Sustainable Living Made Easy.
Get ready for a new soundtrack for your life. Doc Rock, Smith Mountain Lake. It's music that'll take away your troubles for a while.
That's what I'm talking about!
Wake up with Janet and Mark on the Morning Jam. They'll keep you informed and encouraged, and we all need more of that.
You say jam?
You're invited to be a part of the Doc Rock family, your feel-good station. Doc Rock, Smith Mountain Lake.
We're back with more Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz. Be sure to look for Sustainable Living on Facebook for even more information and follow-up conversations with other members. Now, here's your host, Mark Lamb.
Back with Glenn Boblitz. Glenn, before the break and the political upheaval that we were talking about, we were going to introduce, some of these things that we can be aware of and not just kind of, I'm sorry, people, I don't want to get anti-government, but you can't trust the government to do everything. You know, if you talk to the people in Hawaii when they had that part of that island that was burning, the government people were saying, go to this area of the island, and that's where people were going to die.
Right.
Go the other direction, and you'll survive.
You probably have a better chance as whatever they tell you, do the opposite.
Yeah,
so it's that bad.
And as big as our government is, they can't catch everything, and that's why we do the shows to help you, have a sustainable life. And let's talk about some of those things that are out there that we might not even be hearing about through the FDA or whoever.
The causes for these things are not just a singular thing that has happened. It's not somebody working in a restaurant that's not washing their hand. That's not it.
Mm-hmm.
We have weakened immune systems.
Yeah.
That's one reason I think that we're seeing so many cases going up, because we're just already sick and weak.
Mm-hmm.
That's what sustainable living is all about here. Quality food, getting the nutrition you should be getting from these vegetables and the meats, because it is not there in our food system. Even when it's clean, it's not there because it's not profitable to be there.
Right.
If it's full of nutrition, full of these complex sugars, it tends to rot much faster. That's why they don't want it.
So, okay, I'm going to take you to task in this way. Well, wait a minute now, Glenn. I mean, you look around and look at all these healthy things that are out there. I mean, we're more health conscious than we've ever been. Look at all the information on the internet.
True, but it still comes down to profit. The profit's going to dictate what they do, what they buy, what they put out on the shelves.
Right.
And if it's not going to store for months on end, like a Little Debbie's never rots, and there's a reason it never rots. Well, the same way with your produce, same way with your fruit. They pick your fruit early so it doesn't have all those complex sugars that will eventually rot. They put all your fruit and vegetables to sleep. That's how they store them. They put them in a refrigerator. They flood them with a inert gas, argon or nitrogen, any of those things. You pull it out. It sits in the store for 3 days. You come along and buy it because that's usually the cycle. You put it on your counter. In 2 days, it's starting to rot.
Right.
That's because it was put to sleep. It was ready to rot, but all it needed was to get out of that nitrogen. Without the oxygen, nothing's going to rot. So that's what's happening. So when they're buying these bulk produce, tractor and trailer loads of fruit, they want them almost green. They can make them look ripe by flooding them with light.
Right.
They put them under fluorescent lights, changes the color like your apples, nice bright red apple. Well, I can do that with a fluorescent light on a totally green apple. So you're not getting that taste. If you pick one off your granddad's tree, eat it, you go, wow, that is just so delicious.
Right.
Juice run down your elbow. You do that to a store-bought apple, and there's no taste. It's because it was picked green. That transfers all those complex vitamins that you should be getting in the last week of ripening are not there.
Gotcha.
That is your immune system. 80% of your immune system's coming through your gut in the form of vitamins, micronutrients, and it's just not there. So we're weak. Then you throw on top of that the inspection process has gone all to pieces in all facilities. A, they don't have enough. B, the quality of people that they got is not there.
Right.
There's just, I don't know what happened to people just said, I ain't working no more. I'm just going to just live off of some government assistance and call it good.
Right.
Well, that means those quality people that should be learning and working hard and being diligent at their job are not there.
Right.
I work in a lot of factories doing my job, and I see the quality of people there. And all the managers say the same things. It is terrible to get somebody in there. They may stay a week, they may stay 2 weeks.
Right.
And they just not doing a good job.
And I think that's another reason the costs get driven up is you're constantly in a process of replacement and training.
If you have somebody that is a hard worker, intelligent, knows their job very well, and he looks over and the guy next to him is a terrible worker and of low quality, but yet he's getting paid the same
amount.
What is this guy going to ask for? He's going to ask for more money, and and it's just more and more and more.
Yeah.
And to attract anybody into your business, you better open your checkbook.
Yeah.
It's happened to me over the past 5 years only. 5 years, I've really increased what I pay.
Yeah.
And just to keep a quality people. That's all there is to it. But what's out there is getting really serious. This is not just, an occasional case of botulism where somebody had a bad process and something didn't seal on their canned goods. This is stuff like listeria, which can happen from out in the field all the way through the processing to a restaurant. That listeria can occur. Anything that is packaged leafy greens, all the restaurants are complaining of the quality of the greens. Anything that has that green, they're just putting anything into this box.
Right.
Then there's shipping itself. shipping is taking so long to get from point A to point B because trucking just don't have enough truckers, so it gets delayed by a day. And a tractor trailer sitting out somewhere with produce on it is a really bad thing.
Yeah.
So all of those things are affecting our food system and is showing up as bacteria that is growing out of control, and it ends up in a restaurant, it ends up at your grocery store, and they don't want to lose profits.
Sure.
So they try to pass it off as fast as they can, big sales.
Yeah,
You bring it home and you go, okay, well, it's only one leaf, and you throw that leaf away. Well, that leaf infected that entire box of lettuce or romaine, whatever you got, and you eat the good parts, but it's already laden with listeria or salmonella.
Yeah.
Spinach, for some reason, this past year
I
was
just had spinach
salmonella
last
for
night.
everything.
Yeah.
And that has a lot to do with the picking process and who's picking it and the hygiene thereof.
Right.
Now, we also know that a lot of these...
And I've bought into the pre-wash. You got to wash it again.
Yeah. That's probably the smartest thing you could do is just, if it looks bad, don't eat it. I mean, if you've got some rotten stuff in there, you might
$2.49, $2.49, a lot cheaper than getting to the hospital.
Yeah. Yes, you're going to pay more for quality. Of course you are. But one trip to the hospital would have paid for a whole lot of lettuce, you know.
Yeah.
So you need to do your due diligence here. So wash everything.
Yeah.
No matter what they say, it's all been pre-washed. That's great. Wash it again.
Yeah.
We were talking about how many people were in the hospital. There was 3,000 deaths last year. Now that's people that have died from foodborne illness. And the alarming thing is it went up 11% this year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That is a huge jump.
That is.
It was very stable for many years, the past 15 years. It was a steadily increase, but it was not...
You didn't see a spike.
You would get up and down.
Right.
With an outbreak, like Famous Anthony's. That I'm sure that skewed their numbers. But just this year alone, 11%.
And we're not done yet.
And we're not even through the year.
Yeah.
So, you can add another 4%. So you say there's a 15% increase in what happened by the end of the year. And you go, something's wrong.
Right.
You better grab this.
Sure.
So these numbers are getting just out of control, and it's your food supply. Now, if there's ever something to motivate you to grow your own food or to be part of an organization that's growing our own food that and can vet every step of that growth process, there has been reports of downstream from these feedlots from cattle companies that are dumping water in. They're taking the water out of the canals and irrigating with, and that they had to address because it was a huge spike from this one particular farm.
Yeah.
But anytime that's occurring, that's where the government should be.
Oh, yeah.
Putting their efforts, saying, there's a problem, let's step in, let's protect the people. But they're not doing any of this.
No. But if they were there, taking water out of the Lincoln Pond there on January 6th, I'll be damned if they're not in jail.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Maybe I'll edit that part.
Another thing that's happened is a lot of food allergies. Some of the numbers that are in that 48 million I would give them were because food was improperly labeled.
Oh,
if you have a
really?
peanut allergy and somebody has something that has processed peanuts in it or some type of seed crop, they're not catching it. They're not labeling it properly. So somebody can pick up on something, look at the ingredients and go, wow, there's peanuts in that, I better not eat it. Then there is like Lyme disease and what's the other one associated with ticks? Afghan.
Afghan, yeah.
I mean, you can't eat meat.
Yeah, that's serious. Yeah.
And if I got sick at a restaurant or a piece of meat that I had bought at a store, and now I can't eat meat no more, I'd be mad. I am definitely a meat potatoes guy.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why so many people are getting allergies on just normal stuff until you look at what they're actually eating. They're cucumbers, whatever. It's GMOs. The
Right.
body doesn't recognize it. Your body has been developing for, a long time, and now it's got something it does not recognize. There is something in that genetic makeup of that cucumber or that peanut, and almost all peanuts. I won't say almost all. It's 99% of peanuts are GMO. That's bad.
Yeah, that's bad.
All the major seed crops are almost all GMOs because they figured out that you can put something in there to make it, Roundup ready
Right.
for profit. So your bodies are catching all this stuff. Then you get into pesticides that are weakening your body. And we did the Dirty Dozen,
Right.
a list of foods that are and produce that are on the Dirty Dozens. And it broke my heart to find out strawberries were on the top. You
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah,
then
you told me.
potatoes, oh my gosh, the potatoes are so flooded with poisons that the farmer can't even go out in the field after he sprays pesticides for 3 days. Wow. That's mean stuff.
Yeah.
And then they hand it to you in 3-pound bags. And I'm going, I'm not eating that.
Yeah.
I'm just not eating that.
Sure.
We've crossed several food categories completely off our list. And I don't care if I ever eat it again, but
Yeah.
I'm not eating that. Until you speak with your money, they're not going to change it.
Sure.
So you either grow it yourself or remove the money out of that process. And they'll figure it out, or
Sure.
they won't. They're just not getting my money.
Sure.
So that's my rant for that one. But the allergies that we're getting is just out of control, and I'm not sure if our bodies are so weak down to the DNA that we can't handle hardly anything.
Yeah.
Your body ought to be able to handle small infections from anything.
Oh, sure.
And if you have a really good immune system, they'll go grab that stuff, kick it right out. You may get a little sniffle, or you may pass it through one end or the other.
Right.
But your body will get rid of it because it was set up that
And
way.
I think we're such a heavily sedated with drug, population with different. I'm on a statin. I'm on a heart med because I had open heart surgery. I can't help but think that those have an effect as well. Ozempic
absolutely.
and all these dietary drugs that people are on.
You were not born to have all these chemicals in your
Right.
body. You just was not. So
Yeah.
how were you made? You were made perfectly. All you had to do was eat the food that was provided for you in a nutritious manner.
Sure.
Now, that's too simplistic. I get that. But I'm here to tell you, your level of health will go up if you take care of your gut.
Yeah.
80% of your immune system comes through your gut. Every time you take a pill, your gut's not ready for it. Now, your body can handle some stuff, but the longer you take it, the worse it is.
Right.
Like aspirin. Everybody knows
Right.
you end up with an ulcer if you eat
Yeah.
too many aspirins. Well,
it's-
that's because it's some nasty stuff that'll eat
Yeah.
holes through your stomach.
Yep.
And that's it's got to be bad to eat a hole through your stomach. I
Yeah.
mean, anything that is stronger than the acid in your stomach is pretty strong.
Yeah. Sure.
So I would suggest that you change your diet. And the organic word is not necessarily a true way to do it. They've dumbed down the word organic to mean about anything. So you're far better off, going to your neighbor's got the huge garden, the old guy down there that is just toiling away, and you buy tomatoes from him or wherever, or the farmer's market, and buy local, somewhere where you can vet that guy. Some of these farmers markets are getting their stuff out of North Carolina, Florida.
Right.
They are the commercially grown stuff. They're just circumventing the food stores. So don't think that that's the answer either.
Right.
You need to talk to these people that are selling you your foods and make them tell you, where did this come from? Do you know this farmer?
Right.
Because I know my farmer. That'd be my wife. God bless that woman. So that's pretty much what I had today. That's
Okay.
enough bad news for one day. But be vigilant.
Yeah.
Change your diet. change your spending habits. I know it's a little more, but there's a lot of people right here in Lynchburg that are growing produce out on marketplace and advertising it. You see little signs in the yards.
Sure.
Start talking to those people. You'll find you'll get far better quality produce from those people.
All right. Well, Glenn, as always, we appreciate your insight. And it's not always bad news because you do give us the information and then you give us some alternatives. So that's good.
Right. You have to know first.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we'll see you next time, Glenn.
Thank you.
Join us again next week for Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz, helping you be prepared and not scared. This podcast drops every Friday anywhere you get your podcast.